Welcome to the Occult London podcast. This is a new podcast dedicated to exploring magic, mysticism, the Kabbalah, as well as other topics. If you like the podcast, please write a review and rate us on iTunes, as it will really help us to get this message out there. Also, be sure to visit our website at occultlondon.co.uk, where you can subscribe to the show. In today's episode, we will be talking about the Archangel Tzadkiel. So continuing on our discussion about the different archangels of the Tree of Life. Tzadkiel, also known as Tzadkiel, Tzatkiel, Zediel and Sachiel, is the Archangel of Jupiter and is the angel of benevolence, expansion and mercy and all good things in the world. As well as being one of the 7 angels before the throne, through which the divine light is meant to shine through. The 7 archangels are meant to be formed of pure light and are known as the Lords of Flame. So Tzadkiel is one of these, but he also has lots of other different titles as well. So Tzadkiel's name means righteousness of God, grace of God, or justice of God, and he's often shown holding a dagger in his hand, or a rod, or an orb. The dagger is meant to signify the use of the intellect and balance of force rather than destruction. So as we spoke about last week, if you haven't heard the episode on Camael, Tzadkiel, it sits opposite Camael on the Tree of Life in Kesed and represents this real kind of expansive and just rulership of the kingdom, really, and the more benevolent king as opposed to the more warlike king of Geburah. And the rod and the orb obviously symbolising correct rulership. Tzadkiel is associated with prayer and comfort as well as invocation, and he's a really good archangel to work with in difficult times or to bring about positive change in your life. So things like, things like money, things like balance, things like harmony, peace, inspiration. Tzadkiel is very kind of much connected with that energy. Tzadkiel is also the patron saint of all who forgive their enemies, and at a higher kind of spiritual level, he also represents the consciousness that enables us to perceive and compare different aspects of our experience at the same time. So can also be seen as kind of being an all-seeing eye or a mirror where all our experiences are evaluated, balanced and forgiven. So all our bad aspects, everything is looked at with this friendly, nice eye and balanced out from that point of view. Tzadkiel, as I said, is associated with the sphere of Kesed. Kesed is the sphere of energy, abundance, prosperity, joy, adventure. And this sphere is all about expansion and teaches us about, loving life and having as many experiences as possible and taking part in things as well. But Tzadkiel is also associated with luck and prosperity and also higher intuition and deep spiritual wisdom. And I'm not sure if people have read Practical Guide or Dion Fortune's Mystical to Kabbalah. If you have, you'll see that Kesed is the sphere of the Ascended Masters. So this is this sphere where you get this kind of deep divine wisdom that sits behind mankind. And as the Archangel of Jupiter, Tzadkiel is also a very good mediator in terms of injustice and in terms of finding a balance and finding a kind of win-win solution to things. So very good ally to work with. Tzadkiel also leads the group of angels known as the Brilliant Ones or the Chasmalim, and there's an interesting note about this in Ezekiel. Chasmal is a substance which is meant to form the splendour of God's countenance, and it's also a modern day word for electricity. So it gives you this idea of the Chasmalim as being this kind of thunderbolts, which I think is a really nice way of putting it, and obviously has that connection with Zeus and Jupiter from the point of view of the kind of thunder gods. Another interesting point about Tzadkiel, he's meant to be one of the 2 standard bearers, along with Zophiel, who walk behind Michael as he goes into battle with Samael. And that's quite an interesting story from my point of view, that the Archangel of pure mercy and compassion would go into battle with Michael. So he's kind of, again, this balancing aspect of this kind of love and forgiveness and mercy aspects combined with that Michael energy. As the Archangel of Mercy, some texts also claim that Tzadkiel is the biblical angel of the Lord who holds Abraham back, and there are some authors who suggest that this is why he's holding a dagger in some depictions, because he's obviously holding that dagger, taking that dagger off Abraham so he can't sacrifice his son. Tzaddik is a Hebrew word for holy person or saint, but also someone who does the right thing. And obviously Tzadkiel is quite a close word to that. So, it does kind of help us to suggest that he is this sort of guiding force that helps us follow that right path. And this is something that William Gray talks about when he says the following, and I wanted to just quote: "Righteousness is not a nice word at all today. And yet most of us try and do right things according to our lights. It is Tzadkiel who fosters this instinct in us, for he is the Archangel of right doing. We can picture him standing beside us, telling us what we ought to do, because it is right, while his colleague Camael stands on the other side, telling us what to avoid, because it is wrong. They are the guardians of the pillars, passing us along the path between them." And that's a really nice image of Tzadkiel telling us to do things because it's the right thing to do, and then Camael obviously using the sword and telling us don't do that because it's wrong. And again, it's this different approaches to the thing, and when you have that feeling inside you, you know that is the right thing we need to do. That is very much a Tzadkiel energy. So it's not from fear, it's not from anything else. It's just we know that we should do that. So it's about trying to sort of listen to that inner voice, that inner conscience from that point of view. And Tzadkiel is the one who tells us how we should, behave in our lives while we're here. And he's also in some stories talks about he's the one who looks at how we measured up as well after we die. So did we achieve our potential or not? And probably 95% of people don't achieve their potential. We go through life in a sort of state of sleeping and entertainment, really. So it's like, let's go and watch Netflix for 4 hours every night. Let's go and play computer games. Let's do that. Rather than saying, I want to go and work on that novel that I always wanted to write. I want to, run that marathon, or I want to spend more time with my kids. It's very much a society of slumber and entertainment and non-thinking. And we've all got massive potential. It's just we need to kind of tap into that and actually try and find that inner strength and find a way of achieving our potential. And this is something that Gray talks about, and I just wanted to quote from him again because it's a very good book. Tzadkiel's job is to direct everything to its right state of being, and this is a constant process. His symbol is the rod or staff of guidance, and if we are wise, we will learn to follow its point. A simile of this process is if we imagine the letters of the alphabet put into a bag, shaken up, then poured out upon a table. They could only be rearranged sensibly by someone knowing their pattern and combinations. Such could be done in two ways. First, by leaving them just where they fell, and then indicating individually for our attention. Or secondly, by moving them all around until they conveyed an intended message. Tzadkiel does the first for us, and we have to do the second for him. And that's an interesting quote there. So it's almost like Tzadkiel helps to cast our lot, or tells us kind of what we could potentially do, but it's up to us to kind of interpret that and take those first steps. So we've all got that potential, we've all got that diamond of infinite power within ourselves. So it's about sort of tapping into that and awakening it. So what can we learn from Tzadkiel? So Gareth Knight talks quite well about this kind of power of Tzadkiel, this love, this balance, finding one's potential, achieving one's potential. And I just wanted to quote from Gareth Knight. And he's speaking about this kind of idea of aligning us with the divine will, or the true will. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and love is the law, love under will. Apply well to Chesed, for at the level of this Sephirah, the will of the individual is completely in harmony with the will of God. Thus, obedience, which is the virtue of this Sephirah, does not mean the willingness to take orders. What is implied is that the soul who has achieved the grade of the Chesed initiation is so aligned with the will of God that his own will is the same as the will of God, and so he can do no evil. It is completely foreign to his nature. So what we can say from this is that through working with the energy of Tzadkiel, we can begin to align ourselves with that higher will that's obedient to the highest cosmic laws of nature and is completely aligned with the will of the highest. And when we become totally aligned with the higher will, anything becomes possible for us, because we're fully contacted into that higher self, into that potentiality, into that diamond light that sits within inside every human being. Remember, every man and woman is a star, and that will express itself in the most profound artworks, pieces of music, literature, and other great works that transform humanity. So we become a conduit for higher power, like the magician tarot card. One hand is above, one hand is below, and he is channeling that energy through his being down into the elements and recreating the universe, recreating all things. Most of all, Tzadkiel teaches us that we should be merciful and kind and grateful for things that have happened to us and others as well. We're all on this journey together as humans. We're all in this, dark place, particularly now with coronavirus going on. Isolated, scared, frightened, and it's about finding that peace, finding that love, finding that balance, and that grateful energy that is out there. And through this energy of Tzadkiel, we can get through this in love and in peace and in happiness. And on that note, I just wanted to, before we finish, there's a little poem I wanted to finish with, which is called Compassion by Miller Williams. Have compassion for everyone you meet, even if they don't want it. What seems conceit, bad manners, or cynicism is always a sign of things no ears have heard, no eyes have seen. You do not know what wars are going on down there where the spirit meets the bone. So thanks very much for joining us this week on the Occult London podcast. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please make sure to visit our website at occultlondon.co.uk, where you can subscribe to the show. Thanks. Bye-bye. The candles burn bright, soothing me softly.